my friends, this is Christy Shell with Zeal Coaching. I am back for Coffee with Christy. It's a mid-afternoon coffee here on Friday. Today, because we're talking about a lot of things. The world has kind of gotten to a point where we're not very courteous to each other. Has anybody noticed that? Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. If you've noticed that we've gotten in a place where we think we can say anything to anyone at any time. And I am tired of that. I think we have to go back to somewhat of a, courteous and kind culture. So courteous, kind culture, please, to really go back and help people feel kind to each other, feel kind to themselves, even when people disagree with you, right? Or they're not of the same, of the same political persuasion, religious persuasion, opinions, or whatever. So I'm going to ask us to bring back a culture of kindness, okay, and courtesy. So with that, I want to offer you this idea. So when I used to be a camp counselor back when I was a young girl, we would do an exercise with the kids the first week, the first night of camp, right? They would come to camp and they're all kids from different families and different schools and all that kind of stuff. And they're not used to each other and everyone is raised differently. And maybe, they joke around with their friends or they like to wrestle or they're sarcastic or something like that. And other kids wouldn't be comfortable with that. So in order to set kind of a kind and supportive culture, we did something called a social contract, okay? And the concept of a social contract is the idea is that the people in the group are going to decide how we're going to treat each other. They are your playground rules, right? So we're not going to allow bullying, where we're going to be nice, where we're going to share, where we're going to include people, all those kinds of things. But to really think about like what the kids wanted to do to create a week where everyone would kind of set rules about how we wanted to treat each other, okay? I want you to think about this too. I want you to think about in your work team, in your family, in any committees or anything like that that you might be on. What is the social contract that is being done in that? Hi, Miss Shannon, or Shallon. Hi, Shallon. Sorry. But to think about how can we really create a culture where we are effective in whatever we're doing. So when we're teaming, the number one thing for a team to be successful, this was a big giant Google research thing, but it all came down to we have to create psychological safety for people so they feel safe, so they can share a teamwork, a family work can feel successful. We can accomplish our goals. We combine efforts and now we have this synergy and those kind of things because we have psychological safety. And so I find that I'm really teaching that to teams and to committees that I'm on and things like that about resetting the expectations about how we're going to treat each other and in order to be effective, not just because we want to be kind and courteous, because that would be a nice thing, but also to be incredibly effective, okay? And so a lot of cultures work on this, but I'm talking about nitty gritty when you're working with each other, when you're talking at the kitchen table or whatever, what are your playground rules? What is that social contract about having a safe and loving and supportive environment that you create together? So here's my thought about that. You can literally do it. It's kind of a fun thing. We literally would write them down, right? And then we would kind of sign it or put our thumbprint or do something fun, like a campy kind of thing. But what I really want you to do is to think about what is this team or this group of people trying to accomplish together? What are they really trying to do in order to be effective? What do we want to feel in order to be able, do I need to feel safe? Do I need to be encouraged? Do I need to be held accountable? Do I need whatever, all these things that it could really be to be effective as a team, okay? And how do we keep somebody psychologically safe, which means safe from ridicule, safe from attack, safe from that kind of, those kinds of issues. from being offended, but sometimes you're going to have disagreements. So when we have disagreements, how are we going to handle those, right? So to think about how do we keep somebody whole and confident and build trust with them when we have this social contract. What are the things that get us there? So one of the things is, what are we accomplishing together? The second one is, what are the feelings that we have to have in order to do that, right? Do we need to feel safe? Do we need to feel challenged? Do we need to feel empowered? What is it? What are the feelings that you need in order to do that? And then to discuss what are the behaviors that promote that? What are the behaviors that are pro that and con that, right? So what do we want to do and what don't we want to do? And to start to think about what are those things, right? So when you think about that, really thinking about what are the behaviors that get to the feelings, those feelings that create the outcome that you need or you're looking for, and what is that overall tone that needs to be created there? And then what are literally the rules, right? So, and then it's best if there's a lot of people kind of creating and designing those, the group that's going to do them together. But sometimes as a leader, you have to go ahead and set them, and then you monitor them, you role model them, you do all of these things and kind of set the tone with the team and the group in order to make that happen. So you could be the mom, you could be the dad, you could be the business owner, you could be the team leader, you could, whatever it is, but you are also living and setting those tones and role modeling those, okay? And so this is something I really, really try to do. And when people step out of that, I often have to tell them and correct that, and there has to be some accountability aspect to it too. So back in the camp days, I could say, hey, didn't you guys say you were going to, share or be inclusive to people, and you guys just cut out, Sue over there, right? And they'd be like, oh, and then they pull their kid back in, right? And so it's funny how they will go back to bad habits, and you just need to keep reminding them to come back to the social rules or the social contract, the playground rules that you created together, okay? And it's just really interesting, like down to the basics. We don't hit or whatever, or we don't interrupt people, or we share our thoughts and feelings, or we listen until someone has completed a thought, whatever. But just to figure out what those rules are for yourself. This is the best way to build a baseline trust and success for any team, family, group that you might be working with, okay? This is Christy Shell. I am so glad you joined me. Look out for my Maximizing Confidence coming. It's coming Monday and Tuesday. We're going to start pushing that and promoting that, and hopefully you can jump in and come on board to build your confidence, your self-belief, your self-love, and be a part of that workshop with us. So tune in, stay tuned. We'll be back, okay? So with more information on that next week. All right, I hope you're well. Have a great weekend. Enjoy.